Okay, now for the final video. So what I have here is the Hammurabi's introduction to his code of laws. And I've got a collection of the actual laws themselves that this ancient king established. These are the oldest collection of laws that we have found to date. Okay, they range from 1810 to 1750 before the Common Era. Okay, so Hammurabi is a king in Assyrian times who established what we know as to be the first archived records of laws. So this is a multi-purpose document that I'm sharing with you. One is preparing you for Gilgamesh, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. This whole logic of this society that's embedded in this document is the same society that Gilgamesh comes from. Likewise, this is preparing you for the attitudes that Plato was bumping into when he was beginning his philosophies in ancient Greece a few hundred years later off this time period. Quite a few hundred years later of it. But the whole divine rights of kings is still evident. Hammurabi is an absolute ruler. So let's discuss the opening paragraph. So here, in this opening series of this one sentence actually, here, this is filled with a number of names of deities. The proper names here are all deities. There's one city, and Hammurabi himself is mentioned. What I have bold right here where it says Shamash, that is the god of the sun. There's Hammurabi, the prince, the king. Bel is a god. Anu is a god. Marduk and Ea are gods. So let me read through this and break it down for you. But basically, the first paragraph is just introducing the deities and how they have established Hammurabi as the rightful king and told him to establish these laws and give them to the people to follow. Okay. Okay. When Anu the Sublime, the king of Anunnaki, and Bel, the lord of heaven and earth, who fixed the destiny of the country, had committed the whole of mankind to Marduk, the son of Ea, the god of right, when they made him great among the Eg, had pronounced the sublime name of Babylon, made it great upon earth, had established in it an eternal kingdom, the foundations of which are laid firm like heaven and earth. At that time, Anu and Bel called me Hammurabi, the great prince, who fears God. So let me pause right here. I'm mid-sentence. But what's happened, you have this extreme listing of history and important figures of the deities' mythology. And then in the middle of the text, it says, at that time, Anu and Bel called me. So you have these two gods, these two major creation gods, declare Hammurabi as a great prince. They've confirmed he fears God. And these two figures want him to give justice as a status to the country. And he goes on and lists other important results of this action. They want him to destroy the wicked and bad, that the strong should not overcome the weak, that I might rise over the block-headed ones. Like Shamash, to illuminate the land and to further the welfare of humanity, Hammurabi the prince, the one called by Bel, am I. So right here with the semicolon, I pause dramatically. The block-headed ones are the ones who are not following the proper ways. Shamash is a god of the sun. So the semicolon is a little vague here, and it can cause some confusion. But Hammurabi is saying he himself is like Shamash, the god of the sun, and he is illuminating the land and furthering the welfare of humanity. Okay, as established by Bel. Okay. Now, in the next paragraph, there is some more gods that I have bolded the text. Shamash. Uruk is a city in which Gilgamesh will take part in its construction. In fact, the Hammurabi is going to call himself the godlike king of the city. So remember what I said about absolutism. Now, the word sin here, that is a name. That is the name of the god of the moon. It's not the same thing as the modern English word, which means failure to follow the righteous path. This is the name, a proper name of a god of the moon. Furthermore, when you scroll down, I meant to indicate Ishtar here. She's the goddess of beauty. This name will pop up in Gilgamesh, and the Ninda will show up in Gilgamesh. So there's a lot of repetition here. And it's just establishing the king's right to be ruler and to give justification for creating these laws. There's quite a few here. I mean, the document's 27 pages long, and I'm not going to go over each and every one of the laws. I just want to pinpoint a few that I found curious or diverse. A lot of these do echo the foundations of modern society. There's a lot of property laws that are mentioned here. There's slave-holding laws, what to do with a runaway slave. There's what to do with somebody who's committed a crime of theft. There is domestic disputes between husband and wife is addressed here. There's divorce laws that are mentioned in here. So not much has actually radically changed, if you think about it, in terms of what civilized people often bump heads about. One other thing I'll point out, the way the laws are listed, the beginning laws are set up for the higher classes, and then the more you read through the list, the higher the number, the lower the status of the individual in question. Likewise, the severity lessens as you go further down the text. The first few sets, capital punishment is the way to solve a crime. If you can see where my cursor is, any person convicted of preferring charges against another person which he cannot substantiate shall be put to death. So libel is a major crime. And again, in most of these opening listing of sentences, the resulting solution is to put the guilty to death. Like, for instance, number 7, any person purchasing silver, gold, or a slave, either male or female, a beef or an ass, or any other personal property from another person or from the slave of another person, without witnesses to the transaction or agreement, shall be adjudged to be a thief and shall be put to death. A little severe. But That's the cases how they handled that problem. I'm going to scroll down really rapidly now because I want to get to a point in the text where they mention the domestic disputes. It's at 141. I want to say it's 142 to be exact. But the document is being slow for me. Almost there. Yeah, this is it. It's 142 I had in mind. In event the wife quarrels with her husband and shall produce proof sustaining her justification, and she is found to be blameless, she shall be permitted to return to the home of her father, and in addition thereto receive compensation from her husband. So right there you got one of the first actual recorded divorce laws in place. They did not shun the concept of divorce. The 141 is actually another divorce decree. In event a man's legal wife shall depart from him after having been guilty of extravagance, and before her departure is brought to court by her husband, and the husband solicits a divorce, which is granted, she shall be permitted to depart, and the husband shall not be compelled to compensate her. In event the husband does not desire to be divorced and desires to take another wife, the one deemed guilty of extravagance shall be compelled to remain in the house of her husband as a servant. So you got a unique solution to a strange domestic dispute there. And then here's another one. In event the wife does not desire to live in the house of her husband, he shall be compelled to return to her the dowry which she brought from her father's house, and she shall be permitted to take her departure. And they've got laws set aside for widows. They got some really sad laws that I'm surprised they've had to create, like 154. If anyone has carnal knowledge of his daughter, he is to be driven from the town. Frankly, I'm surprised he wasn't stoned to death, but be that as it may. There's another one where it talks about surgeons. If a surgeon makes a mistake in a operation, they will cut off the hands of the surgeon. I'm pulling up the number off another document that I have beside me. 142, 145. Oh, here it is. It's 192. I was almost there. Okay, let me do this. 192 is about adoption. In event a foster child shall say to his foster father or mother, "Thou art not my father or mother," his tongue shall be cut off. Again, that's a little extreme. Number 195, anyone assaulting his father shall suffer the loss of his hands. 196 is the famous one that was quoted in the Bible itself. Anyone destroying the eye of another shall suffer the loss of an eye as punishment therefor. Or 197, if anyone fractures the bones of another, the guilty one upon conviction shall have his bones fractured in punishment thereof. And it's 218, where it talks about the surgeon. If a surgeon makes a severe wound with the operating knife on a patient, and the patient dies, or opens the tumor of the eye on anyone, and the eye is lost, the surgeon shall have his hands chopped off. A little depressing. So this is an ancient society. It's got its strange to us circumstances and legal system, but in the end it is functioning with its flaws, and it survived for a number of hundreds of years. And this is the first recorded series of laws that we have found over time. So again, this is preparing us for Gilgamesh. It's preparing us for Plato and Aristotle. And the attitude that's in here is what Plato is arguing against in his the cave, the allegory of the cave. So that's the material for today. Tomorrow we'll go over Plato's allegory of the cave, and I'll be posting more videos on tomorrow afternoon as well. So in the meantime, I hope y'all are staying safe and you're not having any complications. If you need anything or have questions, just shoot me a line. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good night.